up between One and Tuber. You did mention Tuber, and One's come in as Flag Gaming's projectile DPS. And Tuber, of course, being pretty much the best Pharah in the region right now, that's going to be one to look out for.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is all the time we've got for analysis. We are now deep into the game, starting off on Nepal, and it's going to be, well, Bubble Burster Gaming looking to be running what we were expecting. Tuber coming in on the Pharah straight off.
It's actually quite interesting because One isn't going to be running a projectile here. He's actually going to be playing on the Sombra, while Shochang's over on the Tracer, which is a hero that we have seen Shochang on before. Tuber bringing Pilly down really early, so that's going to mean that Flag Gaming don't have that really key, Lucio player right there, but they are still, well, I was going to say they are still fielding that Moira, but that's just not true.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this being the Tuber show, and in large part it is, but the other part of this, of course, is Climax. Climax coming in on the Widow. We did see them taken down, res back up again to keep piling that damage in. Between the two of them, the space control these guys have for Bubble Burster Gaming is absolutely huge.
So they are going to be taking that early point control, and as you say, Climax is trying to get these angles here to put pressure onto Flag Gaming. It's forcing them into this rotation around the side here. They're going to be looking for the sustain from Rumen, but how long will that last when the tanks actually make a dive?
Yeah, well, they have now worked their way onto the point. Lots of damage coming in already. And a barrage, an early barrage, finds One and the DMEC, a barrage that they actually survived. So they're still there to pile in that damage and keep people off the point now. That's unfortunate. There's a sleeping Melons taken down by a NB just to round things off. And, well, One trying their best to get out. They do manage it, but Tuber doesn't want to let them go, is on the hunt, looking for the Sombra. Not able to find them. Bubble Burster Gaming, what a war chest they've got for this next fight, though.
Melons was really doomed there because of the EMP that came out from Crazies. It meant that the supports were actually taken down very easy. Big sleep at the start there. This is something that we have seen from AMB a lot.
I mean, Tuber is just being almost ignored here, playing so close to the rest of Flag Gaming that they can do more or less what they want. The fact that they are now chasing down the enemy D.Va is absolutely crazy. Tuber just has zero respect for Flag Gaming at all.
There haven't been any neutral fights really so far. Bubble Burster Gaming have consistently had a round of ultimates for their next fights, but they're still holding these same angles and forcing Flag Gaming to make the same rotation, so it's just so predictable right now. Flag Gaming are going to be hoping to get this EMP, and ideally they want to be throwing the Translocator up into the air to try and bring Tuber down, because he's causing so much of the pressure. It actually looks like that's what One's going for.
Yeah, and it doesn't get Tuber. It does find Zihi. So Zihi going down, followed up. Melon's good dive on top of that EMP. But that might not be enough, especially as Tuber has a barrage ready to go. And we've also got a Nano Boost that's going to come online. It's online, expected to be used really any second. Melons has the Primal Rage ready to go, looking to try and maybe buy a bit of space. But the hack comes through onto Tuber. They're going to stop them getting that barrage actually on the point with any real timing, but has managed to get it out now. Lot's already dead thanks to Jihoon and Crazy. And Bubble Burster Gaming definitely in control of the point. Jihoon's come back in on the Wrecking Ball. Just going to get these final few kills because they are at 99-0, and they've forced enough people off the point to take us to 1-0 on Nepal.
Flag Gaming thought maybe that hack was going to be pretty key there onto Tuber, but the fact is he received that Nano Boost, and that allowed him to sustain himself as long as he required. There wasn't enough damage coming in to bring him down in that time, and of course he did end up using the barrage at the end there. So now, coming into Village, it's looking actually right now like Bubble Burster are going to just run pretty much the same thing. Flag Gaming, maybe having Shochang on the Junkrat, there's still some time to change, but yeah, there we go. He's going straight back to the Tracer, and of course in this kind of small area of a point, you can not only kind of go for the backline, maybe try to harass A and B, but also harass members who are on the point, especially if the Pharah has to stay low to shoot the rockets into the point itself.
Yeah, but Flag Gaming still not really picking anybody to deal explicitly with Tuber. Yes, they've got hit scan, but the range on those hit scans actually pretty small. Very hard to get the sort of distance that Tuber is playing at. Beautiful Translocator coming out from One. Does get the hack onto Tuber, and Tuber down again. That synergy between Melons and One is pretty great, honestly. Unfortunately, One dies as part of that exchange. The Yaoshia now on the point with the rest of Flag Gaming, looking in a pretty great position to at least, in fact, they have got the earliest point capture here. Zihi brings Tuber back into the fight, so another 3 threat back on the field, ready to go. Hack comes out now onto Yao Si, going to make it very hard for them to make particular use of any of those wonderful D.Va abilities. Jihan focusing, wants this kill, wants the D-Mech over onto the D.Va, gets the Power Drive initiation, and that is going to be enough to knock them out of the mech. A and B and Jihan getting a lot of work done here. They are just going to come through and wipe Flag Gaming off the point.
And you mentioned how AMB and Jihoon are working really well together here, and that's something the Bubble Burster have that Flag don't, because Melon seems to be on a different page consistently to the supports that are on his team, and in fact, it's putting a lot of pressure on Yaojie to constantly be going backwards and forwards, trying to use that defense matrix to not only protect the team from the rockets, but also to peel back for his main tank, which isn't generally the primary recipient of appeal that you see, particularly in this kind of composition. But they're just waiting now. Shochang switched over to the Brigitte, but look how many ults are on the side of Bubble Burster Gaming. They have everything to give.
Yeah, Flag Gaming taking a bit of a pause there, waiting for Infocyte to come down, but out comes the EMP. Only hits 2. Melons get slept at the same time. The Tuber electing just to throw the entirety of that barrage at the tank line of Flag Gaming. Luckily, Yaoshi was able to get away, but honestly, at that point, that's all you can do, because Bubble Burster Gaming, 2 beautifully placed ultimates, 1 beautifully won team fight.
And Flag have just become very predictable, because consistently Melons is making these solo dives, getting slept, and then it's just very easy for all of Bubble Burst to bring him down, while the rest of the team are kind of left behind. And I'm just wondering if Flag Gaming are maybe not putting enough stock into trying to bring down A and B, especially after getting rid of the Tracer. There's not all that much that they can do, because they're not directly trying to dive to him.
Man, well, it's about time somebody punished Tuber for that, because the range Tuber was playing at is not a range you should be playing Pharah at. But now with the minefield on point, despite the fact that Flag Gaming were gaining some good space, actually, it looks like maybe it was stunned out of using that minefield, so the mines didn't quite appear. One is going to get the kill there onto Jihan, is hacked themselves, so not able to use the EMP, but looks like they're not going to need it here, because they have flipped the point and they are definitely in control of this team fight for the first time in what feels like quite a while for Flag Gaming.
The thing they need to be concerned of, though, right now is that Crazies is getting very close to his next EMP, and I have no doubts that he'll be able to build it up fairly fast. Now, one already has his, but there's going to be a little bit of a race as to who's can use theirs first and who gets the most value out of them. So we want to be looking at the supports here. Actually, Shochang seems to be the only support on the board. Oh, sorry, Pilly as well, who's actually anywhere close to the ultimate. And so Flag Gaming maybe have the advantage here in terms of what they can do to mitigate those potential hacks.
Yeah, well, there's the opening hack, but they have managed to force out the sound barrier. So sound barrier out, EMP comes in as well, hits 4 Bubble Burst Gaming, and good amounts of follow-up, because Tuber, Jihan, and Crazy's all down very, very quickly. Flag Gaming maybe just starting to finally get that cohesion working, because we're about to equalize, and we're not far off one-fight territory for both these teams.
Yeah, that is very important, and Rumen being this close to his Coalescence, often when you're going up against a Pharah and you don't have those long-range hit scans, you want to be using the Coalescence to try and bring her down as well. And she's very, well, she does have the Barrage, so that will make her a stationary target if he does decide to do that. But thus far, he's been very indecisive about the targets of his Coalescence, actually using it there with Tuber getting just out the way, and now the Barrage.
Yeah, Tuber managing to get 2 with the barrage, but it has triggered the self-destruct, so they've got to get out of the way. Needs to very quickly get back onto point. A nice displacement. Boop coming in there, stops Tuber getting in and actually getting the contest running. That's Zihi and Jihan down, with Tuber falling at the end. That's Flag Gaming actually going to take us tied up on control.
That's pretty exciting that we actually get to go to this next map, because as we mentioned at the start, or particularly Panda did, these two teams are kind of in dangerous waters. They're both sitting at 2 and 2, but BBG, they have a +3 map differential, while Flag have a -1 map differential. So Flag Gaming do have to pretty much 4-0 this if they want to have any hope of making it into playoffs. And so the fact that they're showing this early on in the series that they can be somewhat competitive, that's really good for their prospects. And things are actually changing up a little bit here. We're seeing the Orissas come out. Now, we mentioned at the beginning that Jihoon, not necessarily the best Orisa. He got a bit better through the course of the series last week. And Melons, he's very passive. He's not always the best at the shield placement and watching his flank. So I want to be actually watching out for these Annas, especially as there's 2 Pharahs on the board right now. So yeah. AMB's proved himself, but can Rumen prove himself?
Yeah, well, that's certainly one of the matchups we're looking for. I think it's very brave of one to come out and play Pharah against Chuba, who has shown themselves to be an absolutely dominant Pharah. But that's going to be the opening pick of the map, with Crazy's getting rid of Pilly. Equalizer there, and it's a big one. Main tank going down very early, but Climax here on the hunt, looking for these angles, has spotted a couple of delicious targets over on the sideline, but can't quite get the fork onto the plate to pick up those morsels. Res comes in for Jihun, separated from the rest of the team by a Maywar coming out from Yaoxie. And we've still got, well, in fact, the point has flipped over. Flank Gaming currently in control. AMB making a break for it, manages to find Yaoxie as well. Chuba getting very, very close to the barrage, wants to play nice and close, getting in on top of Melons, not able to find the displacement, has spotted, again, a load of squishy targets coming in, playing out point blank range, getting rid of Shocheng also, has the barrage ready to go, but might not even need it here, as they can get in and just start piling in the damage to what is left of Flag Gaming. Got to get that last couple of people off the point, and that is going to be the point flipping over.
It's actually really key there that they weren't able to bring down Melons while he was on the point, because he was in such a position where he could have gone down very easily. He was the only one there, and the rest of his team were elsewhere, especially after his main support was taken down. But the fact that Bubble Burster didn't clean that up meant that they were able to actually fight back and bring themselves back. But they do have ultimates, so they can come back to this next fight and be competitive in that, and use these ultimates that they do have on the board, which Flag Gaming do also lack.
Yeah, I mean, the absolute smooth brain that I am, I called that fight as being over, but Melon survived there for another good 20% point capture progress. And Flag Gaming have lost control, but they're coming back already. Shocheng has moved over onto the Widowmaker, looking to directly contest Climax. Chuba, though, coming in and getting a quick double, hasn't even needed to use the barrage yet. So they are going to hold on to this, at least for now. And again, they've got quite the batch of ultimates to play with.
Oh, and I mean, look how much Shocheng has been compromising on his positioning as well. He's been chasing Chuba around the map. As a Widowmaker, ideally, you want to be kind of stationed in one spot where you're going to receive peels and you're going to receive some, healing and sustain, and you can put pressure on the Pharah that way. But the fact that he's sort of chasing Chuba around like a lost puppy really kind of gives a feel of what Flag Gaming are in this game thus far, especially as their supports keep going down. But look at this, he's getting ready to do the barrage.
Yeah, Mano going there. It was Shocheng, decided just to use the melee and does throw in the barrage, but a beautiful dive coming out from Yaoxie stops anything coming out of that. Bubble Burster Gaming still in control of the point, might just be doing enough here. As Pilly goes down, they lose Jihun as part of that equation, but Climax and Crazy's between them are doing enough to keep their fingernails hooked onto this point.
And, these are DPS players who we did highlight at the start and have done throughout the season thus far. Climax has got a really good aim, puts good pressure onto his targets, and Crazy's has really come in as a very good Sombra. He's been able to clutch out certain fights, which we did see last week. And the question was always kind of his consistency, but so far he seems to be proving that in this matchup.
Yeah, Shocheng changing over again, though. Wants to play the Genji, and it looks like they're trying to set themselves up for it. Well, they're not setting themselves up for a Nanoblade, because that's a long time to wait. Instead, throwing that onto Melons. Wow, whilst all that's going on, Yaoxie getting a 3K, and the follow-up getting rid of Jihen at 99 to 53. That looks like Flag Gaming might be about to clear this up. Just got to, well, it was a nice attempt from Climax. They did manage to take Reemin down as part of that, unfortunately dying to 1 as they kept the point. But Bubble Burster Gaming now only need 1%. One team fight win, and they have this map tied up.
It was a very opportunistic self-destruct there that was kind of done off the back of the Bubble Burster Gaming being distracted by the dive that was made by Melons, but it did work, as you say. And now Bubble Burster Gaming, they've made some changes of their own. They've put Climax onto the McCree, so he can actually have that anti-dive potential, put the Genji potentially in his grave, or Melons, who's been very easy to catch out thus far. And Jihun, of course, being back on the Wrecking Ball, could potentially get some environmental kills, harass the backline, but it's not working quite as well as he hoped.
Yeah, man, don't harass the backline if you're 90% certain they're going to get that sleep off, because AMB has been Ruben has been really good at getting those sleeps, but Climax, with the swap over so quickly, has found 3 in quick succession and honestly just dominated that team fight as McCree. That's crazy.
And it's looking like it's just gonna rock back down. But the fact that it's 99 to 99, again, I have to reiterate my previous point about it showing that there is some competition here, and it's not just going to be a very easy 4-0 or whatever for Bubble Burster Gaming, because Flag have also been putting up a fight.
Yeah, they have. But to break down maybe what was going on there and give us a bit more insight, we're going to bring Panda back in to talk us through that map.
You going to be able to see a couple different swaps and iterations coming through, starting from Shrine, 100 to 0, Bubba Burster Gaming, Village, a little bit of a different trade, however, all the way to Sanctum as well, all the way to the very bitter end. What you're starting to recognize is a nice alteration of how the composition is going to be played from Flag Gaming. And that's what you almost expect, right? I mean, Melons has been playing in Contenders for about, well, it would be like his 4th season at this point. You got to be understanding is that when you're being dove and there's a lot of backline pressure, you have 2 different options. You either deal with it in your backline first, or you trade it over to theirs. And that's exactly what you need to do, especially in this situation against a triple DPS composition like Bubble Burster Gaming. You have to trade the backline. And like you all were saying on broadcast, you can't allow A and B to be sitting in that position for way too long. A and B and Climax were taking the same exact angles, so that you have to be able to punish that quite efficiently. And the only way you do that is by, well, it's either you ignore the Pharah or you ignore the Wrecking Ball. Now, definitely the bigger suggestion here would be to ignore the Wrecking Ball. You can actually alter your own positioning to be in a different way, so that way Jihoon can't find the same amount of value as they once were on Shrine. And that's exactly what you were seeing, especially from the Winston of Melons and Yaoshi on the D.Va as well. You got to see a beautiful iteration of that as you get a couple highlight packets coming through as well. And then you also got to realize as well, they were exactly what I was setting up. With Jihoon on the Wrecking Ball, it's taking way too many resources away from the support line and from, well, quite literally everybody on Flag Gaming. That by the point that Flag Gaming were ready to an assault and offense, well, they were just getting dealt with quite literally. And so you had to deal with Tuba, and by the only way doing that, you put Juan on the Sombra, hack them out of the sky, deal with the backline first, then, well, once they don't have any cooldowns or resources, you pretty much win the fight at that point.
I really do have to agree with you. Just going back to kind of the original point that you were making there is kind of that decision whether you're going to trade out those backlines, because it certainly seemed like Flag's backline were consistently being brought down. They were, BBG were investing resources into ensuring that backline were consistently down, whether they were hacking them, they were sleeping them, they were using the halt onto them. And Flag were just never really able to reciprocate. And it seemed like Melons was at times trying to make these dives potentially onto members of BBG's backline, but it didn't really seem like he was that decisive. He kind of just wanted to dive onto whomever was available, but there wasn't necessarily the same level of follow-up. And I kind of said before how Yaojie was kind of backwards and forwards because he was trying to decide, is he going to go with Melons and go in for this dive that may or may not work, or was he going to stay back and try and help the members of his team who were being pressured by Tuber and had rockets coming down onto them? So it does seem to be really split, and the decision-making less decisive when it comes to how they're going to deal with those supports. And the results so far for Flag has been they end up in situations where they don't have supports to help them out, and Bubble Burster do.
I know it's been a while. We've been stuck in GOATs and 3-3 territory for a long time. But bring yourself back to dive, and that's exactly it, right? Hesitation will be punished, and you can't allow for those things to be snuffed out.
No, well, thank you very much for that insight, guys. We're going to take a very short break between this and our next map, but don't go too far because we are going to be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Told you it wasn't going to be a long break. We're going to go into our second map, and it's going to be our assault map for today, going to Paris. So, Gio, given what we know about these teams, what are we expecting to see on Paris?
Well, I mean, we're expecting to see Orisa, but how good those Orisas are. I mean, going by Sanctum, I'm kind of expecting to see Melons be abandoned by his team. But no, one thing that we actually do know about Flag is they've subbed in Mask, who actually plays a lot of Sombra for them, but they've subbed him in for Yaojie. So Yaojie, their D.Va player, he's not going to be in this game. So I don't expect to be seeing any D.Va be played by them. Instead, looking like they're going to be going for the triple DPS with Shocheng on the Sombra and Mask actually on the Ashe, which hopefully for them should put some pressure onto Tuba, who is, of course, on the Pharah.
Yeah. Does Tuba know there are other heroes available? Because, I mean, yes, he's good at Tuba, but I think that's all we've seen him play.
Tuba is me. Like, Pharah one trick, by the way.
Okay, good to know. Well, so far, Bubble Burster Gaming looking for some angles, maybe not quite found anything just yet. Of course, one way to play this is just wait for Crazies to get EMP, then smash that bunker wide open. Going to take a little while, though. Jihoon maybe looking for his route in, has found it, going around the side. Gets an angle in. can't seem to quite decide who he wants to actually target here. But it has bought a lot of space now because Flag Gaming are having to play on two fronts, and Bubble Burster Gaming are going to take all the advantage in the world off that one on a Pharah of their own. And Shochang hacking the health pack there. Nice little retreat spot to get back to. Has found Chuba, taken straight out. But Jihan getting rid of Melons is maybe the bigger exchange. And Climax, having swapped off the Widowmaker, now playing the Tracer, getting in, getting their hands dirty, and flipping that point over. That's going to be a really quick cap for BBG.
Yeah, it was a little bit messy, but it is something that you do sometimes see on Paris, which is where you'll send in a wrecking ball, not to actually pile drive down onto the team, but to actually make it to the point very quickly. So it forces the defending team to make a rotation and have to compromise their position, which is what we saw Flag Gaming do. And it put them in a situation where they were much easier to bring down, especially as their Pharah was then caught in a small room, which made it so easy for a Tracer to just kind of zip around and deal in the damage that she needed to actually bring down that team. So now they're getting closer to those ultimates that they'll require for these fights here on the second point, but the EMP coming out.
Yeah, it's a big EMP. Xiaocheng does get taken down as part of that, but Mask, Wands, and Melons all getting in on the action. Mask actually proving themselves really quite valuable on the Ashe here. Will have Bob ready for the next fight. Bubble Burst Gaming didn't get any progress captured in that first run, but they are still coming in with a lot of ultimates to play with.
They do have a lot of ultimates, but of course they do have to be careful of that Bob. Now, because they have a lot of time, it could be that they can allow a Bob to be just waited out. They don't have to invest anything really to bring the Bob down because they're not under that kind of pressure. So the question is Mask going to hold on to it? Is he going to use it early? I think he wouldn't be that smart to hold on to it. I'm not a huge fan of people who hold on to their ults for too long. But of course, one is also going to be waiting to see what entrance it is Bubble Burster do use. And if that Bob is put in one of the side rooms, it's going to force them through main where that barrage is potentially waiting for them.
Oh, Chuba wants in on that action. Don't need a lot of body damage in onto Mask, allowing Jihan to get the follow-up. And again, almost point blank, just dumping those rockets out onto Reemin, takes them out of the fight. But one gets the first barrage in, taken out by Chuba. Pilly getting in there on the equalizer, though. So that's Flag Gaming once again going to stay in charge of the point. And, you know, they still have the supercharger coming into the next fight, which isn't a terrible thing to be starting this off. Makes it a lot harder to aggress into.
I think one of the key things there is they actually managed to draw out ultimates from Flag Gaming, particularly that, barrage. It was very questionable that ones couldn't figure out what direction the fire was coming from that allowed Chuba to bring him down, as he was right next to him. But whatever, we overlook it, and he actually did receive that hack, which prevented him from using the barrage as Bubble Burster came into the point. It was a really good opportunity for them, but alas, it was not enough for them to take the point. But Flag Gaming have, of course, now switched things up. So gonna be, again, fielding this kind of roster that allows them to put pressure not only close but far.
Yeah, Nano boosted barrage only gets Reemin, and Chuba gets slept out of the barrage. However, it's a good opener, but the amount of time it's taken for the rest of Bubble Burster Gaming to get in and start capitalizing on things means that actually Reemin's going to be back in the fight very, very quickly, and they dumped two ultimates in that. Climax down already to Shocheng, Shocheng being a really awkward Sombra to play against. Obviously, always in the backline, causing trouble. And that's going to be Flag Gaming holding on to this again. And Bubble Burster Gaming threw two at that fight and got absolutely zilch to show for it.
You're definitely right there.
Usually.
Time's still... All right, Phil. Time's still ticking down. They still have, as I say, like a fair amount on here with just over 3 minutes to go, and they want to be watching out for the EMP that Crazies has ready. But once again, Flag Gaming are making changes, one actually going over to the Mei, which in these sort of close quarters fights that have been happening thus far should be able to slow down and potentially freeze and bring down members of Bubble Burster. Easy.
Yeah, well...
Potentially easier than they already have been.
Yeah, Jihan gets an opener. Chuba finds one also. Climax going mano a mano with Mask. No one quite able to get the upper hand there, but, you know, that's enough to split the team's attention a little bit and allow BBG to start getting that point captured. They're just about to tick up onto the third point and get this. Flag Gaming finally getting some bodies back on the point, but Climax controlling this right-hand door, and Jihan coming in just to make that even harder is going to mean that there's a lot of presence on the point, means they're going to find it very hard to actually capitalize on that. But somehow Flag Gaming bring this back, even penned up in the corner like that. Shochang with that ability to get in and harass people where they weren't expecting to be harassed has really opened this point up for another round of defense.
Something that was really key there was the fact that the fact that Crazy used his EMP first, and there wasn't all that much capitalization on it other than the death onto Shocheng. And so Shocheng actually was able to use his once Bubble Burster thought they'd done enough to actually then engage, and so they were all caught up in it. And at that point, A and B had been brought down by Climax, and so he wasn't able to build up the Nano, which he now has.
Yeah, well, no more. We've got the nano-boosted Brig on the field, and honestly, a little bit scary, especially as she now has the rally ready to go, aggressing through the barrier, not doing an awful lot to stop that coming in, and a beautiful mine placement lands entirely on that bunker. Everybody falling very, very low. Huge amount of follow-up damage coming in. Bubble Burster Gaming, Jihoon slept, but they have managed to cap the point.
The reason that Brig works so well is because she was able to be so aggressive that it drew those resources out of Flag Gaming. They used the repair pack, they used the ice block, and once that happened, the minefield came down, they were trapped in the corner. All the Bubble Burster could push straight up onto them and bring them down very, very swiftly.
Well, yeah, it's certainly a very, very dynamic first round of that. It seems like it took Flag Gaming took Bubble Burster Gaming a long time to actually get in and make any progress on that. So I guess that's where Flag Gaming are maybe going to be looking for that win here, is doing that in a little bit of a faster time.
Yeah, well, Bubble Burster have been relying on this Pharah quite a lot, but the thing is they were consistently trying to play her in this really enclosed room, and Flag were playing heroes that were able to kind of take advantage of that fairly easily. And so it was only once they switched off of that and put all of their power into a hero who can push up way closer, draw out those resources, that's when they actually started to, capitalize and were able to cap the point at the end there. And also, Bubble Burster, they were using their ultimates at times which they thought were right, but they just didn't have the same level of follow-up as they perhaps should have. Chuba was always there. He was always present in those rooms. He survived for a decent amount of time before being brought down in those situations, but it just seemed that the rest were kind of off doing their own thing. Of course, Crazy is off trying to hack someone, not necessarily dealing in the damage to the heroes that Chuba was going for, and everyone was just kind of in different places a little bit, and I think that's what didn't necessarily work out for them. But of course they're going to be on the defense now, and the question is going to be whether they can provide enough pressure onto Flag Gaming to hold them back. But they're going to be Flag Gaming, they're going to be running the Hanzo alongside the Sombra and the Pharah, so potentially a little bit more of a threat for Chuba.
Yeah, absolutely. Although maybe slightly easier to dodge the projectile of,
nice boot
of the Hanzo. But yeah, it's a great displacement. The entirety of that setup going ricocheting in a bunch of different directions. So Melons now has a lot of space there to get in and start doing what they'd like to do. But takes a huge amount of damage. Only just gets out of dodge. Chuba already building up quite quickly towards that ultimate. Mask gets a nice amount of healing there to stop them getting taken out of the game by Chuba so early on, but almost casually Chuba launches a rocket again at Mask, knocks them out of the problem. One goes down also, and we have Capelli there able to bring Mask back into the fight, but Chuba again climbing very, very quickly, going to have this ultimate almost ready for the end of this team fight.
One thing that's arguably questionable is the fact that the members of Flag Gaming, they're kind of trickling in, or at least not all going together, and Pilly's sort of staying behind to try and give them that healing. But all that's doing is meaning that Bubble Burster, or specifically Chuba, can deal more damage into those heroes that are being healed, that aren't there with the rest of their team. They won't get all that much value, and so that's allowing Chuba to build up his ultimate even faster, and now he already has the barrage ready to go for this next engage.
Yeah, I mean, kind of what you want with this setup is you want shock and awe. You get in, you do damage, you move quickly, you get out the way. But they're doing that, but one person at a time for Flag Gaming. And subsequently, they're hugely behind in a lot of ultimates. Climax, playing on the ground here at the minute, a huge amount of space being given to them.
The question here is going to be, who is Rumen going to be giving his nano boost to? Potentially the Pharah, but I'd actually rather see it on the Wrecking Balls. I think in this situation, the Wrecking Ball has more of an opportunity and more of a chance to actually get value and do some, not necessarily damage, but some distraction technique, actually cause some chaos on the point to allow the rest of his team to come through. But then, of course, Crazy sitting there with the EMP, that's something that Flag Gaming have to be really concerned about, and Shosheng's got to be ready to follow up.
Yeah, well, we do have pieces on the board for Flag Gaming ready to crack this open. We've got the EMP, we've got the Nano Boost. Bullburster Gaming still have a lot of stuff they can counter that with. A and B getting ready to try and counter that EMP with the Nano Boost if they're in the right position. Expect that to come up anytime in the next few seconds, or just flat out onto Tuba once again. Let Tuba get the 6k. Big hack. EMP gets 4 on the back of that. Tuba, though, manages to find Shocheng and Jihan finding Melons as well. So another EMP that should have been a fight win, but it was a fight win for the wrong team this time.
And the kind of worrying thing there for Flag Gaming is the fact that Bubble Burst have been able to turn this fight around, not only off the back of Flag's EMP, which should have, done wonders for them, but it means that Crazy's already still has his sitting there ready for when they move on to the next point. Flag Gaming changing things up. Well, I say move on to the next point. The next point isn't even gonna isn't anywhere nearby, but what I mean is ready for the next fight.
Yeah, and this, you can look at this as the win condition is get Genji, Sombra, and Ana ults, but they've got less than a minute. How are they going to manage that?
I think Shocheng is hoping that he'll be able to build that up and be able to use the deflex and dash through the heroes on the board. For
well, not going to do that when Climax takes you out. No, not going to happen. 22 seconds, probably not going to be seeing that Dragon Blade unless something particularly crazy happens. Now, one moving over onto the Tracer. Again, just trying to build up on this chaos and buy some angles for somebody to get some sort of kill and open this point up. But Bubbleburster Gaming, they've got the Turbocharger, they've got the Supercharger out ready to go, and they've still got the Barrage ready to go. And we know how good Chuba is with these. It's not even going to need it. As we lose Pilly and Rumin in the last possible space for a team fight, Shocheng coming in, doing their damnedest to get something working with this Genji, but unfortunately just clicked out of existence. And that is going to be Bubbleburster Gaming taking us to 2-0 in the series.
I have to say, it's really funny that the last-ditch effort of Flag Gaming there was to put the minefield on the point, which is not where Bubbleburster Gaming were defending, and it didn't do anything. It was sort of like, okay, gotta do something.
I've got a button. I'm going to press it. But to try and break down some of those plays and, dare I say, possible misplays, we're going to be bringing Panda back in to break it down for us.
So, just to go back to the defense of the composition the Flag Gaming were running, big fan of that composition, putting Pilly on the Brig, keeping Raymond on the Ana as well, and then you saw the Tracer and the Sombra for 2 different DPS, as well as putting Mask coming in for the Widowmaker. Now, that's the right play. Even if you don't get the head-to-head matchup of Mask going against Climax, which, I mean, I'm sorry, Masky, you ain't never going to win that as a former DPS player for O2 Blast. So both of them, in fact, Tuba and Climax, I mean, you got to understand, those are some pretty strong DPS players. But at the end of the day, it's just to lock them down. It's the same reason why you take a Tracer v Tracer duel, right? So what you end up doing when you put Melons on the Orisa and then you have Pilly on the Brig, it's basically the anchor for the point, a 2-way anchor. So that way it's a harder time for Bubbleburster Gaming to work their way to trading the backline of getting back to Raymond. So that way the healing is always there. So that way you can always have Shocheng and Juan, Tracer, Sombra, to be trading out the backline in a more vulnerable backline of A and B and Climax. It's a very smart idea, especially for Paris. It's a lot longer of a sightline. It's a lot harder to debunk Melons on the Orisa as well, so long as you have the over-sustain of the Brigitte. Now, when you go back to their attack, if you take a look at some of these highlights as well, talking what I was just saying there as well, Flag Gaming, when they're attacking, I'm not going to lie, it just seemed like they didn't really know what they were looking for, right? I mean, Melons took the entirety of that attack to even lay down the minefield. You all were humorously talking about that placement of it as well. But how the heck are you even going to make it past that choke line if you can't even get back to A and B, or if you can't get back to Crazy or to Climax? So you have to put Mask over to the Widowmaker to hope that you can get that one pick. But at the end of the day, you can't focus down the Orisa. That's not the right idea, Chief. You have to work your way to the point, make the bunker move, and then find a pick yourself to find value.
I have to also, sorry Phil, I just have to also question, why Flag have this obsession with changing onto the Sombra, Genji, Ana right at the end where there's nothing that they're going to be able to do with it. I don't know, that just was very strange to me.
Yeah, agreed. Well, thank you very much, both of you, for trying to add some more wrinkles to the brains of myself and our viewers. But we're going to throw to another quick break, but we're going to be right back. Hey everybody, and we're back, getting ready to head on over to Hollywood. Currently, Bubbleburster Gaming at 2-0 in the series. Flag Gaming, we can't count them out just yet. There is always the possibility of a reverse sweep, but looking at what we've seen so far, I think it's a bit of an ask for Flag Gaming to bring us to the full reverse sweep, but we'll see what happens, I guess.
And the thing is also, even if they were to get the reverse sweep, it's not going to be enough at this point, really, for them to make it into playoffs. So I think they're basically out, most likely. I don't know if maybe there's some like crazy mathematics that can work out that allow them to stay in, but the likelihood is the dream is probably over for Flag Gaming, which is kind of crazy, thinking that season 3 they were the champions, you know, or that they made it to the finals at least. But one thing we do have to mention is Yao Ji. He is making his return in this map, and one is going out. I'm being told that they do have to win the next 3 maps to have some sliver of a hope. So they could, in theory, do it, but of course, that does require them to get that reverse sweep due to map differentials.
Yeah, there are 2 chances, slim and none, and we will leave it up to you to decide which of those it's gonna be as we start to move over into Hollywood.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be Flag Gaming starting on defense. Looks like.
Is that? Oh, that's an Ashe. I was gonna say,
is
is that a Reaper? For some reason, I just can't tell the silhouettes. I've been playing this game since it first came out, and I just can't tell the silhouettes. But you know, whatever. Jihoon, of course, rushing straight through onto the Wrecking Ball, which is probably actually gonna mean that Ashe and Mercy have to run back a little bit. There they go.
Yeah, but man, look at this. We got a big old beautiful bunker coming out from Flag Gaming, complete with the Lamp of Immortality. Rumin playing the Baptiste here for Versa Gaming. However, I don't think that's going to stop them. Frankly,
I love a girl with a big old beautiful bunker.
Well, hey, let's keep this stream PG as much as we can. Mask already doing a lot of work, getting up to 50% of that bob. That's going to be big at disrupting any sort of dive that comes in. Bubble Versa Gaming looking like they're not making too many swaps. Climax going to be trying to just hassle whoever they can get their guns trained on. 50% of the ult and climbing. Tuber looking for opportunities to pile in that damage.
You actually see that. I was just going to say, you actually see that the maskers come back to where the main bunker is here because they're requiring that kind of assistance given how much Jihoon and Tuber were sort of harassing them.
Yeah, and actually, look, the Flag Gaming have put so much pressure onto Tuber that Tuber is having to swap out. Tuber's going to be coming in on the Genji, which I don't think is a look we've seen from them yet.
But here's the really key thing, Phil, is they're not doing it with only 10 seconds left, like Flag Gaming have for this whole series. So there's actually a chance that they can build up the Dragon Blade, get those dash resets, and bring down the bunker. Of course, they're just going to have to ensure they watch out for the Baptiste.
Yeah, but man, they've already thrown in the Nano without even having the Dragon ready to go. And it's bought enough space for Climax to get rid of Mask. However, Pile is there with the res, but they know now that they don't have to worry about that for another 30 seconds. From this point on, all kills are permanent. Minefield right on the prime bunker real estate, going to stop them setting that back up. Xiao Chang does have configuration tank bomb ready to go. They did make the swap. Now trying to find targets. Everybody's suddenly, well, Zihi making a nice effort to climb the walls and get out of the way, but it is going to be tank form for the win, getting a quick double there, and just the recon mode, they're getting rid of Tuber as part of that particular bit of algebra. Shocheng setting up, looking for those final targets to clean up this fight.
I actually really like that, Bubble Burst, well, at least what they attempted to do was to draw out all of the resources out of Flag Gaming, and then they kind of changed their positioning. We saw Zihi put that boop onto the Bastion once he came out, but in comes the Dragon Blade.
Yeah, Nano Boosted Dragon Blade finds 2. Jihoon gets Pilly. Tuber on the hunt, wants to get that pesky D.Va mech. There goes the D-mech, pilot form D.Va, sniped out of the air by Climax as Bubble Burster Gaming, by having swapped onto this comp with more than 2 minutes left to go. Flag Gaming, please pay attention, have unlocked point A.
They finally managed to do it. So Flag Gaming, they actually changed a couple of things up now. Melon switching on over to the Winston, who classically we did see a lot on this map before Goats came in, because then it became very Reinhardt-y. But with these high grounds, it's very good to run this Winston because you can jump between them and actually make those dives. But we have to hope that Melons is actually going to receive some assistance from his team, which he hadn't been earlier on in the series.
Yeah, I've criticized Mask previously for maybe not having the best Sombra matchup against other better Sombras, but he's looking really, really strong on the Ashe, doing a lot of, well, do you know what? If you were ever looking for a beautiful clip of a caster curse, that was it. Climax taking Mask right out, swapping over onto their hero of choice, Widowmaker getting a quick double, and that fight just collapsed in a fraction of a second.
And of course, Panda kind of mentioned it earlier how you have these two long-range hit scan. Usually a Widow versus a Widow, but they're kind of there to battle each other out and put pressure on one another. But this is what we're going to be seeing between Climax and Mask. The difference, of course, is Mask ultimate is actually offensive and will be able to provide extra damage into Bubble Burster Gaming, whereas Climax's is only kind of supporting.
Yeah, Craziest does gets found out. Mask again doing a lot for the team. Jihoon gets maybe a better pick there with the main support going down, and Climax with the added damage of the range on the Widowmaker and the amplified headshots is going to get the better of Mask, and Jihoon able to clean up what's left. And once more, it's the Pilot Diva form and the Winston left to go. And as Winston's body ragdolls across the territory, Bullbuster Gaming are going to take that fight, and Flag Gaming maybe have one more go at a recontest if they're quick.
Yeah, but see how close, once again, Bubble Burster Gaming are to this triple ult combo with the Nano, the Blade, and the EMP. And not only that, they can place down the minefield as well. There we go.
Yeah, the Bob hacked and slept, and still hacked in point of fact. But Jihoon going for a bit of a rolling dive there, wants to get rid of Reemin, or at the very least tie up some of that resource. Tuba coming in, has the Dragon Blade. There we go, has received the nano boost, wants to get those supports. That's both supports down, and the D-Mech onto the hacked Diva with the pilot form once more before he can even touch the ground, taken out of the equation. That's the Winston gone also, and a little bit of space here will allow them to finally get in and cap this point. Only 2 meters left to go, and nobody left from Flag Gaming to really offer any resistance.
No, not at all. So waiting for them to just kind of respawn here. Jihoon's going to be dealing in a lot of damage and harassment in the meantime. Yaoji actually committing the defense matrix there to try and mitigate some of it, but instead opting to run away because that's all he had left at that point, really.
Yeah, I mean, Jihoon does manage to get out there. Did leave Zihi a little bit out in the lurch, but Zihi luckily nice and mobile able to get out themselves. But with the infra sights up now, Flag Gaming have got to be very careful about how they choose to engage here. Actually, they're just going to barrel on through. They don't really care about it, and that's allowed them to get the first kill. Zihi is now down. Mask swapped back over onto the Sombra that I was apologizing for criticizing him on earlier. And Shocheng now coming out on the Brig. EMP comes out, and it's a big one. All 6 players on Flag Gaming have their Ethernet cables ripped out. Only 1 kill so far on the back of that, and that's from Zihi getting rid of Mask. Tuba down for Bubble Burster Gaming, so not a huge amount of damage left for them. And it looks like Flag Gaming are going to take this fight whilst Bubble Burster going to come back in and maybe wait to recontest.
They're not too far away, though. They're literally right here, ready to take another fight. Melon's being nano to make that dive, though.
Yeah, Nanoed Winston does manage to get 1 out of it and wants to get that follow-up and find Climax as well. So nice investment of the ultimate, going to buy a lot of space. And if they can get Jihoon here, which they do, even better. So Flag Gaming looking like the first time since point A, they actually have a foothold in this fight.
Potentially, and Mask is going to be looking to use that EMP. So obviously, the responsibility is going to be lying here on Zihi and, well, just Zihi actually to ensure he's out the way. But there we go. There's a sound barrier.
Yeah, EMP finds 3, and it means you're not going to be able to counteract that with the nano boost because AMB was caught in that. But the minefield from Jihoon gets rid of Pili and does enough damage to allow AMB and Crisis to get in and get rid of both Shocheng and Melons. Tuba has a Dragon Blade ready to go again, and we've also very nearly got the EMP and we've got the nano boost. So this is a fight winner right here. This is going to be a really difficult one for Flag Gaming to survive.
Only have half a minute left, but with the resources they have on the board, potentially not an issue. We need to be watching out for Yao Jie, potentially going to be coming in, but the Dragon Blade going to come out from Tuba.
Yeah, the dash into the sky does get hacked and taken out before they can really do too much with it. That payload has made a reasonable amount of progress in that time, but losing Tuba before he could do any damage with the nano-boosted Dragon Blade is actually a big problem for Bubble Burster Gaming, especially as they've got only a handful of seconds and there is a lot that Flag Gaming can do to displace them here. Particularly, Yao Xie with the self-destruct could absolutely knock the entirety of them off the point here. And we've got Tuba coming in on the Doomfist. I've been looking forward to seeing some of that for a while now. Also gets the nano boost. Not able to do a huge amount with it, though. Self-destruct only finds Climax, but with Zihi going down as well. EMP out from Mask only... Well, sorry, out from Craziest, only finding Mask and Shocheng. Shocheng does receive the sound barrier. Pili luckily not caught in that. This is still dragging out this fight, and it looks like Flag Gaming have done just enough to stop this before it hits the end of point C. So Bubble Burster Gaming, a good showing. Maybe not as strong as we've seen from them previously, though.
it was actually really good for Flag Gaming that they had that sound barrier available at the end there, because they were trying to recreate the strategy that they had used on Paris, where they or actually the strategy that I believe it was Bubble Burster used on Paris, where they nanoed the Brig and allowed her to go really aggressive. But because she went straight in for that Sombra, who had an EMP, she no longer had the shield bash available, and so that idea went straight out of the window. And so the fact that then they received the sound barrier allowed the entire team to sustain and be able to engage into that fight fully and push the rest of Bubble Burster Gaming out. Because I think if they didn't have that sound barrier available to them, then it could have potentially gone a different way. But it's still going to be quite hard for Flag Gaming to make it all that way. They have to get the payload the exact same way that Bubble Burster Gaming did. And even though they didn't cap third, we've seen how Flag were when they were trying to attack on Paris. Is it going to be any different when they try to attack on the first point here in Hollywood?
I mean, I think it is a slightly easier first point to attack than first point Paris. I mean, first point Paris is probably one of, if not the hardest opening points to actually crack in Overwatch. Hollywood, by comparison, much more open, couple of different angles of attack. I think they're probably more likely to have a look here than they did on Paris.
The thing is, let's say that BBG are going to be running bunker. We don't know if they are. Okay, they're not, so it doesn't matter. We'll throw that out the window.
They're going to be running Widowmaker Pharah.
Well, I was going to say, basically, Flag, they haven't been doing very well on the Genji strategy thus far, although they are coming out with it from the get-go. So at least that's something that they have learned. They can put that in there. What have I learned today? Note that they make in their debrief at the end of the day. To this composition when you only have 10 seconds left, although Melon's actually going to be changing over here to the Winston, so they are going to be going for the dive, especially now that Chuba has slept. They can just get rid of him straight away.
Yeah, that's a good showing from Shochen, getting rid of Chuba. That's great, and it gave him a nice chunk of that ult charge. The Jihoon has managed to get the D-Make, but of course, with that barrier in place, whoa, just completely ignoring the Orisa, going into the back. Shochen doing what they can to keep this alive and keep the fight going. Looks like Flag Gaming are going to remain in control here, but Chuba, having swapped over onto a Genji of their own now, is going to find the pilot form D.Va, but sadly, not a lot of support left for Chuba, and Shochang is going to get the better of.
This is so different to what we've seen from them thus far, where they've been going straight for Jihoon and not committing to the backline and not necessarily all playing together. They were decisive. They slept Chuba. They slept the Pharah, their biggest threat. They brought her down, and then they straight away went for the backline of Bubble Burster Gaming, completely bypassing Jihoon on the main tank role. And that's one of the biggest mistakes they've been making thus far. This is great for Flag Gaming. That wasn't great for Flag Gaming.
Talking about mistakes, giving Climax this sort of line of sight and this sort of lack of pressure is going to stimmy anything you want to throw at it. Chuba, 80% and climbing towards this Dragon Blade, has charged this very, very quickly. In fact, we're not far off getting that whole combo online. Just got to wait for Mask and AMB, and we're going to have these dueling EMP nano-boosted Dragon Blades.
Yeah, Shochang's obviously still holding on to the same one that he has not yet used from the first fight. In comes that opening EMP.
Yeah, doesn't get a whole lot with it. Chuba finds Shochang. Might not need to commit the Dragon Blade into this fight, having found that opening pick. Maybe would like a second, because, no, actually looks like Flag Gaming going to do the smart thing there and just back off and have that as a bit of a mulligan.
Well, as Melons gets closer and closer to his Primal Rage, it's possible that he can hop on up to these high grounds and knock off the heroes that are occupying them, or even just get rid of Climax, move him out the way.
That was a big sleep onto Chuba. Yeah, and Shochang is able to get AMB with the Dragon Blade, also getting Zihi, Chuba, eventually following to Yaoshi. What a set of plays. I mean, Bubble Burster Gaming probably want those ults back, because getting slept on that big an ult investment is super unlucky.
Definitely true, but I still hold with what I was actually saying before. Well, there's a big hack onto Yaoji, but I still hold on to what I was saying before, that Melons can use this Primal Rage to keep Climax back, and he's been providing so much of the pressure and bringing in all these headshots that would be a really big opening for Flag Gaming, although right now it's not looking like they really need it.
No,
maybe.
Climax found Shochang. Climax just doing Climax things, clicking anyone's head that they particularly feel like clicking. There's the Primal Rage out from Melons. Wants to maybe just buy a little bit of space, because not a huge amount of kill potential coming out of the climate of a Primal Rage on a map like this.
Oh.
EMP coming out from Crazy finds 4. Chuba getting Riemann with the melee. Climax finding Mask unable to go into stealth or TP out of the way. Bubble Burster Gaming in control of the fight for now with the dash reset and a couple of kills on the back of the minefield is going to see them burning a little bit more time, and a nice chase there onto the Winston with a casual shuriken to the back of the monkey face.
Here we go. Here's some changes coming up from Flag Gaming. Wow, Mask was teasing there, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, we're seeing some. You see a Lucio and a Brigitte, and you're like, it's coming back. The flashbacks. But no, it's all fine. So Mask is going to be coming back to try and put that pressure onto Climax that we discussed before. And Pilly...
Oh, big engage. Nice power driver. Chuba uses the confusion to get in, only finds 1 before Melons is able to take them out with a melee. So another ultimate that doesn't pay out particularly bigly for Chuba here.
Bigly.
Bigly. That's right. I heard myself say it and I went, oh dear, that's on broadcast. Well.
I'm sorry. Well, it's okay. Flag Gaming still have some time, they've got just under 2 minutes, but it does mean that if they do actually manage to get it to the end of this next point, then potentially they're going to end up with less time than Bubble Burster to get it to where they had, and they seem to be really struggling here. And well, I was going to say the pressure has to be on Mask to really bring down Climax, but Climax is just clicking him off straight away, just preventing him from even having anything of a chance. And Flag Gaming, they're choosing to engage nonetheless, in spite of the fact the Mask isn't back yet.
Yeah, and Jihoon comes in with another big power driver and minefield combo, getting rid of Riemann. But now that's both Anna's off the field. Mask finally actually getting some value out of the Widowmaker will find Crazies as well. So Flag Gaming now have the numbers advantage. Chuba trying to get some value out of the shurikens, hasn't quite found it yet. Crazies gets brought back into the fight, and they do have the EMP on the subject of which out it comes, hits 3, gets Piley as well. Climax able to find Mask once more. Shou Cheng with the Dragon Blade coming in, finds Chuba as well, gets the reset, takes out Zihi2, finds ANB. Shou Cheng with the Genji, putting his team on his back, but hubris, huge hubris taken out by Climax. Melons getting in to find revenge for their fallen teammate, but what a play from the DPS player on Flag Gaming.
They haven't yet got it to the end, and Jihoon is still contesting here, especially with those adaptive shields, although he's very low on health. But the Dragon Blade!
Chuba getting the dash kill, finds 2, finds Riemann, and Mask is going to find the Winston as well. Absolutely incredible. In a fight that looked like it was lost, and Flag Gaming were going to complete point 2. Chuba coming up big once again. This is a match dictated by Genjis for some reason.
Oh, and that's so huge because Shou Cheng's Dragon Blade really did so much for them, and they really thought they could get to the end, and now they have less than 10 seconds. And are they even going to be able to touch the card? Because I don't think so.
No, it looks like... No, they have just managed to get that ticking. In fact, it's just going to be... Well, in fact, pretty much all of Flag Gaming now on the point. Bubble Burster Gaming, though, not down and out just yet. Climax gets rid of Pilly, who was very close to having that sound barrier as well. So that is a big loss for the team. Yaoshi had the self-destruct ready to go, but gets hacked out of it. And Jihoon is going to get rid of Shou Cheng. Also, this is pretty much just clear for Bubble Burster. I don't think there's a huge amount left that Flag Gaming can do. It needs to be something miraculous, and it just isn't going to materialize. That's going to be Bubble Burster Gaming taking us to 3-0 in the series, and in fact taking the series.
And that sliver of hope that we were talking about with Flag, that's gone now.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
That's not going to be hanging around anymore. They had a chance, and there were some points where they did look really strong. Their initial attack actually looked quite well coordinated, and we spoke about how they'd kind of learned from some of those mistakes earlier on in the series. But of course, at the end there, it all really fell apart off the back of Chuba just getting that amazing Dragon Blade, which kind of turned things around in a way that Flag Gaming, I don't think, were potentially expecting.
No, well, speaking of people with a strong attack, let's bring Panda back in to break that down for us.
Well, I don't know about all that, but I take compliments where they are. And well, congrats to BTRG. They are in fact confirmed there. Flag Gaming, they are out, having to win 30 maps in total, plus the series would mean that they would go to playoffs. Well, that's not the case. Flag Gaming have yet to take a single point or not a single point, excuse me, a single map throughout this entire series, so they are Dunzo Bonanzo. With that being said, though, they were exhibiting a lot of high-level play, too. You bring yourself back to their defense, the way that they were just basically giving up fights on second, realizing, well, there's no way we're going to control high ground from a climactic player like Climax. There's absolutely no reason to even try to do so. So they swap over to the Brig, and although that's going to take 3 fights in total to get a rally, they're able to stall out on third. A very high-level play as well. And then you see it kind of go worse for wear on second. They start trading out backlines. They start trading off for nano blades. But because of the cart and where it was specifically, I mean, Bubble Burster Gaming was able to come back with their own nano blade and able to combat back with their own ultimates and yoink that right back away from Flag Gaming. Any hopes and dreams were kind of at a loss right there, unable to control any sort of ultimate economy that Bubble Burster Gaming were playing with, whether that was the EMP, whether that was the Nano Blade. You can even count Climax as his own little personal ultimate. When he has high ground, he's going to pretty much find ultimate value, which is just headshot after headshot. It just seemed that Flag Gaming were a little scared almost to try to combat it against Climax in the high ground control on top of the saloon. But regardless of the matter, it's a good season from Flag Gaming as a whole. They will be going back into the next season, hopefully with a little bit more than what we got to see here. As you see the highlights here, that bunker was very, very fun. And I want to go back to point out a previous moment here as well. That early nano onto Tuba was actually high level as well. Able to bring Tuba up to speed as far as ultimate control is concerned. And you actually saw what was the most impressive part about all of that is that AMB was able to build another nano boost after giving the nano boost over to Tuba initially. So they had a nano blade for the next fight. And well, Gio, you said it yourself on broadcast as well, is that they got every single ultimate that was going to defend themselves away from a nano blade in that fight as well. So then they just had nothing. And that was kind of the same story over and over and over again for Flag Gaming. I mean, Pilly on the Lucio, not exactly as strong as Pilly on the Mercy. At least you can guarantee yourself a very fast Valkyrie as well. But at the end of the day, Flag Gaming able to show some grit, but not enough to combat it against Bubble Burster Gaming.
Well, Panda, thank you very much again for that insight. But as we are between maps, we're going to be throwing to another quick break, but we are going to be bringing you back for our final map of the series. Don't go too far. Hey everybody, welcome back. Here we go. Map number 4, currently 3-0 to BBG. So Flag Gaming really now just playing for a single point and for a little bit of a chance at redemption. But that's going to be
self-worth.
Yeah, bit of self-worth. They have found an early kill. It's important early kill. Ji-hun going down and not rezzed back up by well, there's no point to res them back up being that close to spawn. So Shocheng, 67% and climbing on this ultimate. That's really good progress.
Pretty good, but, you know, it's a Dragon Strike, so
Yeah.
it could be a more worthwhile ultimate, I suppose, because one of the really big counters of Dragon Strikes is standing out the way of it.
Yeah,
But,
it's A and S, pick your favorite.
yeah.
A and D, sorry, pick your favorite.
Yeah, if you S, you're still in the line of sight of the Dragon Strike. Nonetheless...
Oh,
wow.
Shocheng! Big shot from Shocheng.
Well, that's what they
there.
should have done on Hollywood then, isn't it? If Shocheng's the one, and not even a Widowmaker, if he can get rid of Climax, that really could have saved them in
Shocheng.
Hollywood.
Shocheng throws it in the Dragon. They did have a nice angle there to get a couple in the back, but they decided they would rather just get in and throw that Dragon Strike in, see if they can get any value from it. One has a barrage of their own already. This is looking really good for Flag Gaming. If they can get just this barrage in the right place to stop Burster Gaming here, holding at this courtyard is honestly much easier for them.
Yeah, and when they put down that wall there, actually, I feel like that could have been a decent opportunity for One to go down with the barrage. Obviously, he's being a little bit more careful and tentative. And there are risks, of course, just landing a barrage straight in. So many heroes can, bring you down very easily. But it may, I don't know, using the wall, it might slow down the team. But I just feel like it's a good opportunity to use an offensive. Oh, wow, that was really nice.
Yeah. Climax playing pop up and pop heads pirate, always at a different angle, always finding a different head to click, really just opening fights up for the team. Now playing up on the high ground, right above the courtyard, gets frozen, unfortunately, and One able to get in there with a quick rocket to the face, undoing all that hard work. Nice hold from Flag Gaming.
That was actually a really nice kind of intuition there from Yaojie. He threw up the blizzard while Climax was ADSing. He was looking down his scope. So he didn't actually notice until it was sort of too late. And he was kind of on the edge of the circle and tried to move out the way. But it was too late. He couldn't really do anything about it. And so that brought him down fairly swiftly. That allows Flag Gaming to continue their kind of robust defense here.
Yeah, well, with another barrage out of the way, A, N, B, and Crazy's down. Now she's able to find Climax there as well, with what I can assume is a Mei right-click snipe. Always impressive to see. Tuba will have the Dragon Blade ready to go in the next fight, but they're looking to get frozen. In fact, just so much resource being thrown at Chuba. That was incredibly hard work to try and get him killed, but once more slept on the Dragon Blade. It happens a lot. Jihoon coming in there with the protective minefield, going to stop him getting aggressed on. And Crazy's managed to get Melons, but just with raw damage alone, Flag Gaming are going to unpick the seam of Bubble Burster Gaming.
I mean, to be quite fair, if you're gonna bring out a Dragon Blade directly in front of an Ana, where your hitbox pretty much fills her FOV, then if she doesn't get a sleep, then that's something to be concerned about. So that was a little bit funny, a little bit of just desserts there for Chuba. Maybe he should have been a little bit more sneaky about that, and he's actually switched back onto his Pharah. He's like, I don't want to be bullied on Genji anymore. I'm going back to Pharah.
So here's what I think has happened. Bubble Burster Gaming going, we can just have a bit of fun. Let's try running this. And they went, okay, no, we like winning too much. We're going to go back to what we know works. And, well, it's a nice opener. Climax finds Shocheng early in the fight, but one has a barrage again, ready to go. Would like to find A and B. Doesn't find A and B, but does find Crazy's A and B. In fact, getting the better of that exchange. And Chuba getting rid of Yaoshi as well. Rez coming up into Jihoon, and it is just going to be Melons left alone on the point. They have burned a lot of time off this because they are deep into OT for Bubble Burster Gaming.
Yeah, but it's looking now like they will be able to get to the end here, although Flag Gaming potentially be able to contest as the payload is a little bit further away from the checkpoint that I originally assumed. Although, I don't know, Flag Gaming, they're kind of around the corner here.
Oh.
Looks
I don't
like
think
potentially... Okay, no, they're contesting.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen Chuba use his concussive blast for anything other than getting as close to another character as physically possible before dunking them with rockets. Out comes, though, Barrage not actually going to be popped there. They don't need it by the looks of things. And that is going to be Bubble Burster Gaming taking point A.
Yeah, there you go. Just managed to clean that up pretty well. You're right. I mean, Chuba uses his concussive blast really well. Actually, I really like the mobility that he has around the map, but also I like how he kind of uses it. He gets very close to Melons a lot to specifically draw out the fortify, and then he can use the concussive blast on him because he can no longer protect himself from those environmental or CC kind of abilities, which is really nice, I think.
Yeah, Climax able to find one, a pretty tricky target to find. Should be in stealth almost all of the time. Melons now coming in on the Winston, and a nice attempt at a dive there. A and B, however, able to back out of the way. Chuba with the barrage gets taken out by Shocheng, and Melons still on the payload here. Would like to maybe get some of these Bubble Burster Gaming characters as they get out, but no, going to back out and just go for a slightly more solid hold.
And traditionally, this is a hard part of Rialto to attack. It's got those dreaded right angles, and Jihoon actually here Jihoon actually here on the Orisa is quite interesting because it's going to take him a little while to actually traverse around these corners, but of course he can lay down the supercharger as he just has done as this fight ensues.
Yeah, but it looks like that's not really worked out for them too well. I suspect maybe just wanted to use it before we see a swap coming out from Jihoon, because they just got ran over when using that. In fact, Jihoon going to be coming back out on the Wrecking Ball, where we know he's pretty happy. He likes his Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, Zaihi actually going to be going over to the Brigitte here as well. Hopefully maybe trying to stun out one who's running around here on the Sombra. And if you can do that, maybe prevent him from reaching that EMP or just landing those key hacks onto the members of your team. And Crazy's actually has his own EMP as well. There we go, actually seeing it now.
Oh, yeah. It's a big one. It's a 5-person EMP, and we lose Melons, and we lose Piley as well. So we still have Shocheng up, and Shocheng can absolutely turn this around. But Chuba, in the meantime, without even a Dragon Blade needed of their own, is going to come in and just dash reset their way to victory.
Now, Shocheng does have his own Dragon Blade, and the Nano is coming out as well.
Well, there's the Dragon. Nano as well finds one. Zihi going down. Can they actually get this done in overtime? Chuba has a Dragon of their own taken out. That's unfortunate. Hacked and deleted. Jihoon coming back in to try and keep the dream alive. But Yaochi with the self-destruct is going to take them out. I think that's the last we're going to see. Bubble Burster Gaming held just shy of capping that second point. So Flag Gaming, they've got a chance to get that one map win they would maybe like, just for a little bit of redemption.
Yeah, they certainly do. And I have to say, seeing two Genjis Dragon Blade at the same time. Not only is it supremely alien, because we haven't seen anything like that for a very, very long time here in Overwatch, but it's also very strange to look at, because it's like they're doing some weird dance around one another while trying to get the other members of their team. Very strange, though, so far. Well, I was going to say so far Tubers have been coming out on top, but obviously Shochang was able to bring his out there and do enough to hold Bubble Burster Gaming back. And as you say, there is that chance that Flag Gaming can reach that same point. But, you know, the same was said for Hollywood. That didn't necessarily go all that great. So, I don't know. I don't want to say anything too early. Never really know.
I think one of the things that Tuba's Dragon Blades have over Shochang's Dragon Blades is that Tuba seems to just use his with the absolute most self-confidence possible. Like, yeah, I'm going to Dragon Blade and go straight for this, Anna. What could possibly happen to me? Slept.
It's not necessarily a good thing.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes you get slept and you waste your ultimate.
It's, yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know how likely it is that we're going to see Tuba come out on the Genji again, at least not for this initial defense. I think it's more likely he'll start on the Pharah. Oh, yeah. What a prediction. Didn't see that one coming. But actually going to have Crazies on the Roadhog instead of sticking with the Sombra. So potentially going to be looking to hook the Pharah out of the sky. And obviously those classic hold hook combos that we do traditionally see alongside the Orisa as well.
Well, here's the thing. What's Bubble Burster Gaming running? They're running 2-2-2. I think this is maybe some early practice for when Rollock is enacted in the playoffs.
And now they're like, oh, well, you know, we're in playoffs, so might as well.
Yeah.
Might as well start scrimming.
Yeah, exactly. It's never too early to start scrimming. But, you know, Flag Gaming, this is a setup that they've had a little bit of success on. They certainly managed to stall Bubble Burster Gaming out on this first point for quite a while. But so far, not working out because Piley dies very early in the fight. Crazy's still up. We'll have both the rebreather and the hook ready to go. Looking, wanted that kill.
Nice.
Finds Yaoxia as well. Beautiful Halt hook combo. Just the expectation of Crazy's looking up, waiting for that orb to connect.
But Phil, here's the thing. That wasn't a Halt hook combo. That was just a hook. A really well-timed one.
Oh, no, I was talking about the one before the one onto Rumin. Sorry. It just took me so long to say it that it was out of time. It's fine.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because that last one, it was just so wonderfully timed that there just happened to be a Mei right in the line of sight of this hook right at the last minute. It was beautiful.
Sometimes it works out. It's nice.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah. Well, there's a nano boost on to Tuba. Doesn't have the barrage to pair with it, but obviously going to be very quickly working their way up to that. In fact, that's going to be the final rocket that put that in. Jihan, however, goes down. So maybe you don't want to take this fight without that main tank ready to go. Interesting swap, not currently on screen. Climax going to be coming back in on Soldier 76, and I cannot think the last time I saw Soldier 76 in a contenders match.
You see him sometimes, and this is actually going to allow Zaihi to put all of his attention into Tuba without Climax really having to worry all too much about it. So he can actually, you know, not only does he have this mobility, so he can flank around as he is doing here and get away quickly, but he also has his own sustenance, so he can kind of heal himself.
Late on the barrage, unfortunate positioning meant that it was incredibly easy for Melons to get out of the way of that. But it doesn't really matter because it looks like Bubble Burster Gaming are going to keep in control of the payload for now.
Just waiting for Flag Gaming to come back. And one is just about to get the EMP. There we go. You see it just flipping over now. But still got some time for Shochang until he gets his Dragon Blade. And of course, Raymond has actually already used his nano. And the question is, how fast can he build that up? So is this EMP going to be used for this purpose? And Climax actually found one out there. So is he going to use the EMP on its own? Or is he going to wait for the combo?
Well, we're going to be seeing any second now, really. If it was going to happen, it's going to happen now. Whole hog out from Crazies. Not enough to secure a kill. There's the EMP, but only finds two. It gets both tanks of Bubble Burster Gaming. Shochang still has the Dragon Blade ready to go. Self-destruct from Yaoxi is big. It finds the main tank, which is always important in this. Crazies with the Dragon Blade wants to clean up this fight. Finally getting A and B, not getting slept. Shochang! Shochang, what was that? The Mercy threw herself over. You didn't need to dive into the water after her. Luckily, that double jump saving Shochang at the end there.
Thank you, Base Genji. Nice.
Yeah.
Double jump there. I was thinking, is he just gonna reset? But no, he was able to save himself out there. But at least this now means that Flag Gaming can kind of get things rolling, and they can get closer and closer to, you know, that end point, especially as we mentioned it earlier. But this part of Rialto here, this corner is the hardest bit, and this is where they're going to need the most time.
Yeah, they do lose Shochang very early in the fight. Climax up on the high ground does have the attack visor ready to go, decides to use it, finds a couple of tasty supports in the corner, not quite able to get the kills they might like, has found Rumin with it, and Piley eventually took them a little bit longer than they might have liked. Self-destruct gets rid of Climax though, but Zihi, still alive, still swinging that flail, finds Melons and asleep there. Over onto Yaoshi is going to secure that they are demeched and very shortly taken out of the fight. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, you can't really afford to stagger too heavily here because that's all point progress.
Yeah, Climax was really pressured by the fact that Melons did bring out his Primal Rage, but of course he was still able to get some of those key picks, which pushed Flag Gaming back nonetheless. And so now, looking like Shochang's actually just trying to build up some ult charge with those shurikens, but instead he's going to be joined by the rest of the team, but they got to go up against this supercharged...
Ooh, supercharged Whole Hog is rough, but luckily with the deflect and a little flick of the wrist, that is going to be the supercharger down to get a lot of value. The Tuber, once more, with the Dragon Blade, finds Rumen on the hunt, finds Pili, and dueling Dragon Blade, Shochang coming up big. In fact, maybe getting the better of that and finding Tuber at the end of it. We talk about Shochang as one of these players that is a really great DPS player, has been stuck playing Zarya for a long time, and it's great to watch them being given the chance to shine here.
I have to say, it's just like watching mating dances of butterflies or something, with them just dancing around one another. Actually, the interesting thing here is one coming out on the Doomfist for a little bit of a brawl, using the best defense passive. He'll be able to build up those shields the more damage he deals into Bubble Burster Gaming. But of course, got to watch out for Crazies on the Tracer. If he can build up that Pulse Bomb, it could be pretty lethal.
Yeah, it's an incredibly quickly charging ult. One not able to connect with that fist, although does get the follow-up. That's going to be looking for one more target with the fist. Flag Gaming still in charge and large on point. And that's going to be Climax taken down in the middle of that tactical visor. One again with that high damage, burst damage coming in from the right click, is doing so much just to disrupt and take down what is left of Bubble Burster Gaming. Does unfortunately get whip-shotted out of that. Piley and Yaoshi coming in, getting a quick double to bring this back into contention. Ji-hun looking to try and get out again. Self-destruct, gets rid of them. Climax coming back in on the McCree, gets one. Tuber with a Hail Mary with Dragon Blade, not able to find anything. The stagger is on, but they've got to get rid of that one person left on the side of Bubble Burster Gaming. But Ji-hun able to get back in and keep this going. There's so much speed and mobility for BBG that they can actually keep this going a long time. Crazies does find Shochang with the pulse bomb, but Shochang is dashing out of the way and survives. Flag Gaming have managed to get a small amount of redemption in this series, taking Rialto at the end.
They've finally managed to as you say, get some of that redemption. They don't leave with that Overwatch. So could be worse, but the fact that they were only able to do it right at the end there is kind of disappointing for them, especially after, you know, a debacle like what happened on Paris, where it was all just a little bit of a mess. They did seem to have kind of learned a few things over the course of the series, but obviously this late in the contender season, we're on week 5 now. This is not when you want to be learning these, you know, key foundations of what it is that you should be playing, when you should be changing heroes, to what heroes you should be playing, who you should be targeting. These are all really fundamental things in Overwatch that this team should already be aware of. And we mentioned at the beginning, this team has had such a fall from grace. They went from being in the finals of Season 3 2018 to now being where they are here. And of course, they lost a number of their players. There were some poachings that happened, so it's not the exact same roster. But even so, the legacy of this team will still remain as it has been, and they're not living up to what it should be.
No, well, it feels like we covered an awful lot there, but just in case we missed anything, let's bring Panda back in to give us a little bit of a summary of what we've just seen.
It's funny, Joe, you bring up something that they've learned, but it's not something that they've learned. I feel like it's something that's just been around in Overwatch for you. It's almost like EMP Nanoblade is still a really good combo. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that taking away the abilities of your enemy and then nano boosting your Genji into a Nanoblade would have possibly been the answer, right? It's just kind of frustrating in a way too that you could always resort back to your roots, especially if you're Flag Gaming. Play what you're comfortable on. You let Shochang play the Super Shimada Bros, whether it's the Hanzo on defense or going over to the Genji as a more stalwart character for that individual as well, and letting Juan just find EMPs on top of hacks as well. It was refreshing to see Flag Gaming being able to show a shadow of that shell of which I was talking about at the pre-show of their former selves. Like you were even mentioning, there were some players that were no longer on this roster as well, especially probably most notably Over, who moved over to Bilibili Gaming last season as well. That's one thing you definitely got to look at. It's they lost a little bit of their umph, if you will, but they were able to find a little bit more of it as well. Feng Mian was not there, but Pili actually had a really nice pop-off moment as well. If you remember that bomb that came through to capitalize onto point A of Rialto for their offense, well, the Orisa actually died from a sound wave that came through from Pili, and that was probably the most pop-off moment I've ever seen from Pili on the main support all season long. It was very refreshing again to see finally them falling into their roots of being able to find value in the composition that they were playing against. And to go back to a previous point as well, why not go back on Hollywood and play that composition, right? Just continuously combating the high ground away from Climax, make that player incredibly uncomfortable. I mean, sure, Climax was playing Jack Morris in Soldier 76. Not exactly the strongest hero. I'm not sure what that ultimate actually does. In full, but it ended up dying. I could see you wanted to go for the nano visor in a way too. That's a little bit more packed for that punch of an ultimate, but it's at the end of the day, Flag Gaming, they can still show some of their strengths here and there, but it's not without a moment's too late. Again, like you all were saying, this is week 5. It's it is the end of their season as well, and I guess in a way, like you all were saying on cast as well, this is what we can expect from Bubble Burster Gaming. Maybe not so much Climax on the Soldier 76, maybe a little bit more Tracer in the Widowmaker to go along with that pull port combo of crazies on the Hog. Because I mean that pull onto Pili on the Mercy mid Guardian Angel. Now that's something to give me nightmares about at night as a support player myself. But it's something that we can definitely expect from them in future games to come, especially with playoffs right around the corner.
Well, yeah. Panda, thank you very much for that particular bit of insight. We are going to be throwing to another break here, but again, this is only the first of today's games. We've got another 2 games coming your way over the course of the day. We're going to be throwing over to TSL versus LG Gaming coming up after a fairly short break.